Chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes! Episode 101. We got past the 100th episode. Now we're on 101. It's crazy. 101 episodes of MinneZona Sports Live. But without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callie, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Woods and Shores Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Voldy, Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
You know, a familiar saying always comes to mind here when we talk about MinneZona Sports Live. To quote the legendary Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., when asked about what his favorite Super Bowl is, he always says, the next one. And for this one, which episode is your favorite? Well, it's always the next one. And here we are at the next one. After 100, we're at 101. We're ready to roll here. And we got a whole crap ton of stuff to talk about. It has been insane, to say the least, here for this show coming up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the thing is that we're there's NFL free agency, there's MLB, they got things going on there. It's crazy. There's so many things happening at one time. It's hard to keep up with everything. But a lot going on with our home team, with the Twins, obviously. The Wolves, making that
Huge.
playoff push. Things are looking damn good for the Wolves, the Vikings, all that stuff. But I think we should get right into it because there's a lot to talk about because we're talking Twins, we're talking Vikings, and then also, before I forget, Voldy's Virtues. Voldy's Virtues
right.
tonight. Looking forward to hearing what you got for Voldy's Virtues. So, all right, let's get it going with some tater tot. Man, hot take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, we are back with some tater tot hot take. Our first hot take for tonight is the Minnesota Twins. It was absolutely trade central for the Minnesota Twins. It all kind of started off with the Twins trading a guy that I liked him. I don't know what your thoughts on it was, Voldy, but Mitch Garver. Mitch Garver traded to the Rangers, and then the Twins get in return Isaiah Kiner Falefa. Falafel, I think it would have been great if we had that. We were just talking
Missed
about this
opportunity.
before the show. I don't know. It would have been pretty cool. I mean, it's they make the trade. You think, okay, is this a cash dump? Or are we just looking towards the future here? Honestly, we don't know what's happening with the Minnesota Twins, but that's the first trade that went down, and then we'll get into some other things here. Voldy, let's start off with this trade with Garver. Your thoughts on Mitch Garver going to the Rangers?
Unfortunately, we haven't really seen the best out of Mitch Garver since that 2019 season. 2020 was what it was. A lot of injuries for him. Then last year, towards the back half of the season, he really started to get things together. So I think this season would have been, the be-all, end-all for him if it was going to be anything out of the year. This would have been the season to prove himself, and I think the Twins were just seeing it for the way it was. There's a bevy of catchers that they've got right now. They've got a couple guys down in the minors that want to see some action too, that are getting close to Major League ready, and unfortunately, it's just come at a bad time when we had 5 catchers on roster this past season, and all of them were contributing in some way at one way or another. It made Garver's stay in the lineup a little bit tougher to happen as well. Just the fact that you get something out of him too for a minor league right-hander, and then also you get a guy that was a catcher. He was a Gold Glove third baseman, and also he's starting shortstop all at one point in his career in the span of about 2.5 seasons. Is amazing in Isaiah Kiner Falefa. That's the weirder part, that he was like, he came into the league as a catcher, and he's like, I can play shortstop. I was like, okay, buddy, sure. And he goes out and wins a Gold Glove at third base in 2020, and then is the starting shortstop after the guy that he replaced was, the franchise leader for the Texas Rangers in Elvis Andrus, and they trade him away to Oakland or whatever. But I mean, it's just crazy to see that the Twins were able to get a guy like that. And well, unfortunately, we won't get to see it come to fruition.
Yeah, we won't, and we'll get into that too. But I think it was one of those things where it's like we had too many cooks in the kitchen with catchers. But honestly, I kind of liked Garver out of the guys that we had. I liked Jeffers for a little bit, but it seems like he's going to be the guy from now on, which, I'm fine with that. But, again, it's kind of one of those things where the Twins, I believe, got Falefa for the Yankees in order for us to we want Falefa. Okay, we have to trade somebody, get him, and then trade him again to you guys. So there's that being thrown into the ring there. But I also think that with Garver, you got a lot of hot streaks, but you had a lot of cold streaks with him. And with any baseball player, but I just felt like there were times where when he was slumping, man, he was hitting like 167 or something like that and just not doing much. But then there was a stretch where the guy's hitting a home run left and right, and it's crazy. It's almost similar to what Sanoa does too, but it really doesn't affect me that much. I think they'll be able to recover with Jeffers. I like what I see from Jeffers, so I'm fine with it.
Right.
Garver's out of Minnesota. We wish him the best of luck. So another trade before we kind of go into that two-part trade here, Voldy. The Twins go out and trade for a pitcher. How about that? They traded for a pitcher. They actually got pitching this time. They listened to me. How about that? You know what happens when you listen, when you go out and get pitching? It works pretty well. Well, we'll see. But I know that Sonny Gray and the Twins trade for Sonny Gray, the Cincinnati Reds pitcher. Obviously, I don't think that we're going to look at this guy and say that he's going to be like our number. Well, as of right now, he definitely could be our number one pitcher. But with the 3 seasons he had, he went 23-20 with the Reds, 3.49 ERA, and 68 starts. So he's good. I mean, he's not that bad. I really think that he'll play well for us. The Twins give up Chase Petty, the 18-year-old right-hander. Unfortunately, obviously you wanted to develop him and whatnot, but to get something, you had to give something up, and that's just how it is.
Right.
Voldy, what are your thoughts on the Sonny Gray trade?
I think this one might have been just a little bit too much to give away here because to give away your I shouldn't say top prospect, you give away the number one kid that you drafted last year out of the MLB draft with the 18-year-old, and then you get Sonny Gray. Like, Sonny Gray's not a horrible pitcher. I just wish this was the Sonny Gray of before he went to the Reds. Like, when he was in Oakland, that dude was dominant.
Yeah.
I mean, he was carving up dudes left and right. Then again, it was in Oakland, so he had plenty of room to work with there. I wish it was the Oakland Sonny Gray, but you know what? Maybe coming back to the American League will help, especially he was an AL pitcher that went to the National League, and obviously at that time they were still hitting, so maybe that took a little something off of him as well. Not gaudy numbers not awful ones, maybe a little bit high in the home run department that he gave up with, but, 432 strikeouts in his 3 years there, 144 walks, 279 hits, 300 innings, basically 120 innings, through his, stay there in Cincinnati. Not bad, 23-20 record. Again, not great, not terrible as well, because nobody cares about wins anymore, apparently. But you know what? I think it's serviceable. I think he's going to be a guy that, he might be a top 2 starter if Kenta Maeda still isn't 100% you're ready to go as of yet for the start of the year.
That's a guy that needs to have a big year with Maeda. But yeah, I think so too. I think the Reds were looking at the future here, whereas the Twins were like, okay, let's get some pitching in here because they desperately need it right now. And I'm not even joking. I'm not, it's legitimate. But they have some, it's a lot of young guys and guys that should just only be pitching in AAA or AA or whatever they're calling it.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. All right, our last one that we're going through. And this one, at first, I will say that I was kind of taken aback by it because of the way that this went down.
Yeah.
The Yankees trade Gary Sanchez, Gio Urshela. Does that sound about right, Urshela?
Yep, Urshela.
Okay, Urshela to the Minnesota Twins for Josh Donaldson and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. So Falefa is with the Twins. Now he's not with the Twins. Now he's with the Yankees, which is crazy.
Crazy. And
now the bringer of rain, our guy Voldy, who we actually liked a lot, is gone.
I know.
So he is now a New York Yankee, and not only that, but him and Garrett Cole are on the same team. That's interesting, to say the least. But we'll get more into that. Falefa apparently was a Twin for less than 24 hours, and now he turns out to be a Yankee here.
Yep.
When I first saw this trade, I thought this was awful for the Twins, but people keep telling me, a lot of people keep telling me that this is them making room to go and sign a big guy. Trevor Story.
Right.
Trevor Story. So we'll see with that. But Voldy, first, let me get your thoughts on the Twins trading away Donaldson specifically here. What do you got?
Looking at the trade overall, I was a little taken aback by it too, because you bring in a guy like Donaldson to help solidify your lineup too, whether it be in the 2 and the 3 spot.
Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't stay healthy. That was the thing. I think
Yeah.
that's what ultimately did him in. Like, obviously this past year, the start of the year, he missed a bunch of games, wasn't fully healthy. 2020 wasn't fully healthy either, so he missed a whole bunch of games on top of that. And then you get a guy like Kiner Falefa, who could have been a guy to help be a helpful piece in the lineup, and you lose him. So right now, the Twins don't have a starting shortstop. I mean, you've got guys that could play shortstop, but you don't expect them to play 130, 140 games at that spot as well. But on the back half of the trade as well, not exactly a terrible trade. I'm looking at it for the likes of which, and obviously you get rid of Ben Rortvedt too, another catcher. So you get rid of 2 catchers in 3 days when the league isn't even 24 hours old, or at least not even a week old. And all these trades and signings are happening. It's insane of what's going on here. And not even a week into the season too, before the first spring training games take place. But what the Twins got back, again, not exactly terrible. Gio Urshela, not a terrible player as well. Maybe he'll progress the way that he should in a Twins uniform. As he got his time with the Yankees, had some bright moments there as well. But maybe more consistent playing time will help. And then Gary Sanchez, I don't really know what to think about Gary Sanchez, because if you're a problem in New York, there is a lot going on there that it probably isn't exactly the best of things. But again, if you're a problem in New York, whose fault is it? Is it the player's fault, or is it everybody in New York's fault as well? Gary Sanchez, when he's on, he's great. When he's off, we all know he's terrible. If we wanted to pay, I don't know if we're paying for his contract or not, but if we needed a catcher to hit 220 again, I mean, we might as well go back and get Mitch Garver if we're lucky too. But Gary Sanchez, again, provides a little bit of thump in the lineup too. Could be some DH spots for him, but I think looking at it overall, I want to say it's an even trade straight up, but 3 players for 2 could certainly say that maybe even the Twins got a little bit better end of the deal as well, considering the fact that, Josh Donaldson hasn't been fully healthy for a full season, 2-3 years at least.
Yeah, and I think that's something to throw into perspective here too with Donaldson. Now, granted, when he was playing, he was good, all right? We keep saying that. But I also think that if you're making this move, I want to get back to this. If you're making this move, you got to hit on it. And what I mean by that is they got to go out and get somebody big. And that has to be Trevor Story. If the Twins bungle this, we know who's running show. And I think it's a little bit frustrating when you have owners that only give you a sum of money to spend. Okay? And I'm not going to get into the poll ad rant because everyone's heard it before. But it shows who's running this. And it's honestly embarrassing to me, in all honesty, that we can't figure out how to get guys to come here. Well, you have to show them the money. Okay? You can't lowball these high caliber guys. Okay? Now, if you're not able to hit on some of these guys, I'm glad they went out and put out money for Donaldson, okay? That's fine. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is that they put a limit on what they can spend. They might say they don't, okay? They might say they don't, but it has been proven that they do, and they lie about it. So that gets factored in, but also, like you said, I think, I kind of took a step back as I said, what a joke. And it could be. Now, this could turn out to be a joke. Sanchez could go off the rails. He could have some issues, like you were talking about. And then all of a sudden, we're stuck in this weird situation, and then we get, left scratching our head. Why did we make this trade? Now, Ursula, I like what I see from him, okay? And that's I think we can do something with that. Now, some people are talking about Royce Lewis and all that. It's like, well, these guys need time to come up. It's like, well, let's get going here, guys.
Yeah, and Royce Lewis is coming off ACL surgery, too,
Right.
so we don't know if he's going to be 100% to go right away. So,
Right.
Obviously we've been waiting for him the last couple of years, but,
He's coming
same
off an
thing
injury,
with,
right.
with Byron Buxton when he came up. When he came up, sure, he had a couple of nice moments, but he wasn't 100% ready to go. In the last couple seasons, again, when fully healthy, we're starting to fully see what Byron Buxton can do.
Yeah. So that's the hope, is to get Royce Lewis up here. Nick Gordon, I think, played well towards the end of the season.
Yeah, he had a few moments here and there.
He had a few moments, so we'll see. But I think time's going to tell how this will go, and if the Twins don't go out and get him or a Correa or whatever.
I was just about to ask,
Yeah.
what if the Twins go and get Carlos Correa? How crazy would that be?
That would be crazy. I'm glad that they're swinging for the fences here, for one. But I still think they got to look for more pitching, because it's just evident that you have to. I mean, look at the starting pitching right now.
Yeah.
Go through it, because it's looking like Dobnak's coming back to the starting pitching role.
Oh boy.
That's
Not
going to
good.
be interesting.
Not good, Bob.
So, all right, that'll conclude our Twins talk. We'll keep up to date on any trades and everything like that. All right, Voldy, let's also. Oh, before I get into it here, Wild are up 2-0 over Boston. Or no, excuse me, 2-1 now. I just got the update right here. Kirill Kaprizov, 2 goals. Our guy, the Kirill the Thrill, baby. So we're feeling good about that. So let's move to the NFL here, because our Minnesota Vikings, they've been making some moves. Now, it's not moves that you would sit and say, oh, okay, like, these are big moves and everything. The biggest move I think you can take out of this is the Jordan Hicks signing. We'll get to that in a moment. But I also think, too, that they've bolstered some areas of need. They re-signed Jordan Berry, who again I think is a good punter. I mean, it's a punter, not a huge thing, but we get him back. But then the Vikings not only signed Jordan Hicks to a 2-year deal, but also Harrison Phillips from the Buffalo Bills, another D tackle after releasing Michael Pierce. So let's first, Voldy, let's get to the Michael Pierce release. Now, from what we understand, the Vikings reached out and were asking him to take a pay cut out of his contract, and he refused. And, well, I wouldn't say, I guess, yeah, in some aspects. He didn't want to, I should say, not refused, and decided they wanted to move on. Created some cap space to be able to sign guys like Phillips. Johnny Mund is another guy for tight end. We'll get to that in a moment, too. So your thoughts on the Michael Pierce release, Voldy?
I mean, he only played 8 games for the Vikings, and the fact that he wasn't going to take a pay cut because of the fact that he sat out, not this past season, but the season before due to COVID, and then, signed that 3-year, $27 million deal, and he only came up 8 games in the 2 seasons that he was part of that contract. I don't really see the ways don't really outmeans the risk here with keeping him on as well. He didn't live up to the hype, unfortunately, and I like to say that he had a few bright spots, and none come to mind, honestly, just because that, he was less than serviceable is probably the kind way of saying it. But, and especially at a position like defensive tackle, the younger, the better, I think, in my mind, with that regard. And, maybe Michael Pierce will find somewhere else to go, and maybe he'll flourish with another team. I'm not really heartbroken or distraught about this, because there's still a lot of D tackles out there. Yeah. They're, on the chopping block and willing to make some deals and hopefully give the Vikings back that presence that they once had between the tackles out on the defensive line. So, I mean, I'm not entirely heartbroken about Michael Pierce getting let go.
Yeah, me either. And, I liked him when we signed him, obviously, because
Right,
we
exactly.
needed somebody in the middle for when we let go of Lindvall, which I still think wasn't well. We had to free up cap space too, but I liked Lindvall. So, but yeah, Pierce. I look at it the same way as you. I think that Pierce, with his elbow injury, with whatever injury was going, I mean, there were just so many things going on with him. Now, not saying that he was a bad player. He was good when he was healthy. He was.
Right,
He was
exactly.
a dominant force. Now, the question is, was he going to stay healthy this next year? And not, I think that's why the Vikings, I like how they approached it and said, listen, I think you need to, take a pay cut here because, as history has shown that you've missed some games and whatnot. And he wanted to say, well, no, that I want to, I want to keep what I got. Well, sorry, but this is what you got, buddy. So, they release him, but the Vikings go out and they sign Harrison Phillips, formerly of the Buffalo Bills Mafia. They're feeling good right about now. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Oh yeah.
But he's a guy that it was a third-round pick. He played, he had 12 starts with the Bills. And he's gone to the postseason. He's been a factor for the Buffalo Bills. He's still young. He's 26 years old.
Yeah.
So this guy's legit. I really like what we got from him. Now he's not as big as like a Pierce or anything like that. But you know what it tells me is that I don't think they're done yet. I don't think the Vikings are done getting guys, and also maybe adding some defensive tackles. So. I think they're kind of bolstering the line here because, again, they're almost last in total defense and whatnot. So I think the Phillips signing is pretty big. I like what I see with that. But a lot of people are like, oh, well, who the hell is this guy? Who's this guy? It's like, hold on. Let's give this guy a chance here. We haven't even started a game. So I like the signing. And obviously with the Vikings still making cap space and whatnot, they're trying to, get things worked here. So with Phillips, the Phillips signing, I think you and I can both agree that I think it's good. We'll see how he does in purple. He looks like he's excited to be with the Vikings. So let's move on to Jordan Hicks. He signs a 2-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings. He's a 29-year-old linebacker, and he led the Arizona Cardinals in tackles this past season as well. Yeah, used to play for the Eagles. His streak of 51 consecutive starts is the third longest active streak among NFL linebackers. So he's got a lot of. He's a good linebacker. And I think this is perfect because the Vikings want to kind of go to a 3-4 in some aspects here, which I think will be interesting. Voldy, what are your thoughts on Jordan Hicks signing?
I kind of like the signing as well, especially at a position where the Vikings are getting older and the guys that are coming up don't have a whole lot of experience. You throw out a guy like Troy Dye, who's played a little bit more as of late. Blake Lynch as well as came in.
Yeah.
Obviously we know that Anthony Barr and Nick Vigil are on the free agent market right now. I don't know if they're going to be coming back or not, but the Vikings are shoring themselves up with, a Jordan Hicks, a guy that can come in and play right with Eric Kendricks as well, because like you mentioned too, switching possibly to 3-4, that's going to bring the opportunity now for Danielle Hunter to play outside linebacker or whatever spot they want to put him at. And according to which some of the coaches saying that he could do it. Now, if he's fully healthy or not, that's going to be a big precedent for the upcoming season. But having last season off for the most part, a couple of games here and there for the year, that'll be a big factor. But getting a guy who's got some experience and definitely has a nose for the football and to get after the guy carrying it is going to be a big help for the Vikings to shore up that defense that's not getting a lot younger at some key spots.
Right. And especially if they're moving to the 3-4. You mentioned Danielle Hunter, and I there's been some rumors. I kind of want to shift a gear here, and then I'll get back to the signing here. But Danielle Hunter, the Vikings have been trying to actively shop Danielle Hunter.
course
to try and free up some cap space. There's some issues, I think, right now because the Vikings, as Ben Gessling's saying right here, he says, they're trying to sort out their cap situation. Sources continue to say they've been trying to trade Danielle Hunter, who's gotten $18 million roster bonus due on Sunday.
Oh, boy.
So that factors in. And then, Danielle has a $25.8 million cap figure. The Vikings need to clear space to make their new deals official. Okay. So that is what we're waiting on. So that's kind of the main thing here.
So what you're saying is the Danielle Hunter jerseys, swerzies will go on sale on Monday, is what you're saying.
It's very possible. And now I'm down to only one current Viking in my jerseys. So there's that.
Yeah, Danielle is the only one I've got right now of a
that's right.
current Viking.
That's right. I forgot about that. But
yeah,
we'll see. I mean, that's what's going to I want Danielle to stay, but I understand if you want to make the trade because you got to free up cap space and depends on restructures, Thielen and or Harry or whatever. But before we went on air too, the Vikings agreed to terms with Austin Schlottman from the Denver Broncos. He's played in 42 career games. His PFF grade isn't the greatest. It's about like a 44 or something like that. But he's never allowed a sack. Apparently, he might be fighting for that guard spot between him and Wyatt Davis as of right now, since the Vikings decided we're not going to re-sign Dakota Dozier. So there's that factored in too. But we have that with the line, and a lot of people wanted the Vikings to go after a big free agent guard, which I think we've always wanted for the longest time. Voldy, with that in mind, and some guys who are currently free agents, especially our guy Patrick Peterson, who was just on NFL Total Access. Who do you think the Vikings are going to be aiming for next, or who do you think that they might start taking a look at? I mean, re-signing Pat Pete or bringing in somebody else. I know people were clamoring with Zadarius Smith, but it looks like he's going back to Baltimore. What do you got?
I think a big one is going to be bringing back Pat Pete because, obviously the defensive backfield is something the last couple seasons have been troublesome for the Vikings. It wasn't terrible this season, but it could certainly be a lot better. Having veteran presence is big, especially, he was only here for that one season. Having him back would, help a lot of those young guys coming in, especially with a new defensive system coming in, new defensive coaches, new coaching staff altogether would certainly be something to at least continue to have that opportunity for having a legendary player like Patrick Peterson in on your team as well. I just hope it comes to fruition too. But other guys that can make a play, and this is my make a play as well. Look, if he's done with his career, is completely up to him. But the New York Giants did let go and release Kyle Rudolph.
Ooh.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
All I'm saying. 1-day contract. If he wants to hang him up, if he wants to go play another season somewhere else. But I'm just saying, hey, let's mend some fences here. Let's rebuild some bridges. Let's send him off into the sunset the proper way. Because he played. He'd been here in the NFL forever. Gave us a little bit of love on the social medias as well. Did. But Kyle Rudolph in purple is always going to be the thought in my mind when I think of Kyle Rudolph. That's for sure.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, but I think, like we keep saying, the Danielle Hunter thing is kind of what's kind of holding everything back. If they restructure, that would be great. If not, well, oh well. But one more deal here, then we'll move on to Voldy's virtues. Johnny Mund, I believe that's what his name is. He from the Rams, the Vikings signed him. Kevin O'Connell guy, apparently. So he got a 2-year deal worth up to $2.5 million. Again, a very small contract, and he might be a blocking tight end, or maybe he's doing something. When our guy Tyler Conklin left, I think that's probably why they went after him. So that would make sense. But I think that's a good signing. We'll see if he can be like a red zone threat. But we're going to miss Tyler Conklin, who's going to be signing with the Jets. We have a ton of respect for him, especially liking a lot of our stuff on the socials medias. So we appreciate you, Tyler Conklin, a.k.a. Gronklin, as well. But the Jets got a good one, man. I really hope he does well with Zach Wilson. Well,
let's also talk about the fact, too, that no news on Irv Smith. With his injury, because literally as soon as he got hurt, that's the last we heard of Irv Smith. So hopefully going into this season, he'll be, if he's fully healthy to go or not, because that's at the start of this past season, we're like, geez, we got all these tight ends. We got rid of Kyle Rudolph, we're going to have some threat. And then he gets hurt. It's like, God, we got nobody now. We got Gronklin. That's it. Like, that's all we got. So bringing in a guy like Johnny Munt as well, knows Kevin O'Connell, knows the system that he's going to be bringing in, is going to be helpful, especially for these guys who are going to be adjusting to the new system. Hopefully Irv Smith's going to be 100% ready to go. Whoever they got after him, after Irv Smith, is yet to be seen. Probably some sort of blocking tight end, fullback combination or whatever. And I just hope that Irv Smith's ready to go and he's ready to give up that number 84 so we can finally retire Randy Moss's number.
I think that time will be coming. I think he'd be happy to. But I don't know. Who knows? But, we'll keep everything up to date with the Vikings. I think it was this time last year when we found out that Patrick Peterson was going to be a Viking when they signed him. So, I can't believe it's been a year since that happened and whatnot. But we'll keep you up to date on everything going on there. And, it's time for some Voldy's Virtues this week. We're going into the MLB with this. Voldy's going to be talking about some things that have been on his mind, and he's talked about it, here and there and whatnot. So we got a lot of fun coming with Voldy's Virtues. So let us go to the Temple of Wisdom.
He has emerged from the Temple of Wisdom. Gather round for Voldy's Virtues.
All right, it is time to enter the Temple of Wisdom. So, Voldy, please enlighten us.
Well, with Major League Baseball less than a week now, signing a new collective bargaining agreement between the Players Association and the league, as well as the owners as well. Some minor details, if you will, out of the grand scheme of everything that people, that are in the Players Association or the ownership may not seem as a big deal, or for those casual baseball fans that don't think it's a big deal, they're a big deal. All the stipulations, everything as well, that has slowly but surely ruined the game of baseball are either out or now fully implemented into the game of baseball. And here are some things that, with this new CBA that we've got in for the 2022 season, have come to mind and will be talked about here just a little bit longer here with the collective bargaining agreement for Major League Baseball that has been ratified here going into this season. First off, the big thing, banning the shift. Thank God they are banning the shift. Of course, we all know, you get a big power lefty in the lineup. Let's put 5 guys on the right side of the infield and, put your second baseman in short right field like a roving softball outfielder. Look, if your pitcher isn't good enough to get a guy out, no matter where your players are, you don't deserve to be in Major League Baseball to begin with. I don't care how good your stuff is. You need to get that guy out with your stuff or how awful you are. If you can't do it without, quote-unquote, cheating like that, or at least gaming the system, for lack of a better term, again, you shouldn't be playing, you shouldn't be in Major League Baseball. There's 30 guys down in the minors that'll take your job, and they'll throw the opposite hand that they were meant to as well. So it's good to see that Major League Baseball is making some sort of effort to say, yes, we recognize that this is an issue. Let's try and fix it by banning the shift. Because when that came into baseball, I'm just like, what is this garbage? Like, this is ridiculous. You can't do that. It's not fair. No wonder the numbers have been down for so long and strikeouts kept coming up as well. The next thing I want to talk about as well is something that I just do not get why it is still a thing. Universal DH. So we were up 1-0 with Major League Baseball on the right. Now we're tied at 1-1. So Universal DH is now a thing all over baseball. The hitting era in Major League Baseball, now in the National League, went from 1876 to 2021. So almost 100 and some odd years, almost 150 years of baseball being played. Pitchers in the National League were hitting. American League had hitting in the for pitchers from 1901 to 1972. 71 years that American League pitchers were hitting as well. And unfortunately, it's not going to be coming back, if ever, once again as well. So with it also being a bit of a fun, little disclaimer as well, with David Ortiz now going to the Baseball Hall of Fame as the second full-time DH to go in the Hall after Edgar Martinez in 2020. Now we get everybody's favorite. More hitters, less shenanigans in baseball. Because let's be honest, watching a pitcher hit when it was in the National League or American League's teams playing in the National League, I honestly look forward to it every time because these guys always say that they're athletes, but when they step in the batter's box and try to hit a 99-mile-an-hour two-seamer coming at their left hip, they don't look like athletes. They look like idiots, for lack of a better term. It's like, I was such a great hitter in college. It's like, I dominated in high school. That was 10 years ago, bud. Relax. You spent 9 years in the minors, and you're going to go up there and try to take a two-seamer out the left field. When a pitcher hits a home run, too, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Just to see a guy hit a homer off a guy that he probably knows or, getting one up against, a fellow pitcher, the coolest thing ever. Yes, obviously there are things that, go into it with offensive numbers. It's basically an easy out. You're not getting the full production in your lineup, but that's baseball. That's called strategy.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
Like literally the one time the San Francisco Giants were in American League Park, they had their pitcher hit. They didn't have a DH. They literally went straight 9. First time in, I think it was at that point like 10, 15 years that they didn't have a DH. And the last time that happened was because the guy who filled out the lineup card was an idiot and put the same player in 2 spots and one at the DH, so the pitcher had to hit by accident in an American League game. It's just completely insane that we have to keep going and trying to appease people that don't appreciate the game of baseball. The DH is meant for one league. That's what makes the nuance of baseball so great. You go into an American League game, you see a designated hitter. You go to a National League game, you see a pitcher hit. That's where the strategy goes. You bring in double switches in the 6th and 7th inning. You get a guy coming back. You get a pinch hitter for one at bat. He ends up putting him in the field as well. That's where the double switch comes into hitting. Whether it's going to be the bunt, the hit and run, deciding to pinch hit for a pitcher or not in the 5th inning, and basically he's done for the game. Now you got to rely on your bullpen the rest of the way. That's all strategy of the game, and we got to keep appeasing people that have no business enjoying the game of baseball to begin with. They're trying to get the casual fan. If the casual fan doesn't want to watch baseball, he's not going to wait around 3-4 hours to watch a game and know the everything inside the game as well. It's just completely insane. But getting off my high horse on that end with the universal DH, let's move on to another problem.
Sure.
More teams in the playoffs. For lack of another better term, everybody gets a trophy because apparently expanded postseason is a great idea. Kudos, first off, I just want to say kudos for Major League Baseball and the Players Association for getting 162 games into the schedule, despite the fact losing a month. Now, 6 teams in each league are going to be making the playoffs. So basically, you get the 4 division winners and you get 2 wild cards on top of that. Great. Fantastic. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Because when they brought the second wild card into the matchup, I instantly like, why are we doing this? Why are we trying to grant some team that wasn't good enough to finish off the regular season, make the moves that they wanted to? Why are we giving them an out to begin with? Because it's completely ridiculous. Stop trying to give everybody a trophy. Stop trying to award everybody. Like the NFL trying to give everybody a chance in the playoffs. Like, look, your team's good enough. They're going to make the playoffs. So what if they're in a division where the 4 teams could be the division champion? That's life. That's how it goes. Cry about it to your mama and make you feel better. But the fact that we're going to the expanded postseason once again still completely baffles me in all aspects of it as well. So basically, you could still end up with a team that had no business being in the playoffs to begin with, still make the postseason. Like, remember the COVID year? Like, wasn't it Houston that finished like 2 games under 500 still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And end up making it all the way to the ALCS. I mean, it's dumbfounding. Stop trying to give everybody a chance. This is life. Life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's sadness, darkness, and clouds. Get over it. If you're good enough, you're going to win. If you're not good enough, then do better. Fight for it another way. Stop trying to give everybody a chance. This is life. Not everybody gets a trophy. Sometimes you got to eat crap rather than not eat it all. So that's the way I look at it. I have a much more colorful saying than that. That's my go-to as well. That's the PG version of that saying that I like to say all the time.
I got you.
To everybody. Looking back at it, there's some other ridiculous rules that are possibly going into effect. All-Star game ends up being a tie. Possibility of a home run derby to decide the winner. What is this, Wii Sports? Like, what are we doing here? It's completely dumbfounding. Just play the game.
Yeah.
If it ends up being 14 innings, that's baseball. Again, stop doing it. The possibility of oversized bases to avoid injuries and the whole mess-ups, trying to break up double plays. Stupid to begin with. This is like Little League baseball type stuff. And, of course, we talked about a couple weeks ago, the pitch clock. Are we going to enforce it? Are we not? What's the byproduct of a pitcher not throwing the ball between the allotted time between pitches as well? Is it going to be a ball? Is it going to be a strike? Is the guy going to get a chance to go to first base right off then and there? Are runners going to move up 90 feet if a pitch gets moved, it doesn't get thrown between 19 seconds between pitches of a runner's on, 14 between, not runners not being on. Again, is it going to be enforced? The clocks have been installed at stadiums for, I think, going on 5 years now, and I've yet to see it actually be enforced. It's completely ridiculous altogether. There's some good ideas in theory. I will say this, good ideas in theory, but the hardest thing is Major League Baseball is trying to bring in the casual fan, much like the NBA, trying to do all the ridiculous, redonkulous stuff of trying to make it fun and easy to follow, and like the NFL too, and all that crap with the NFL, kids broadcasts on, Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon.
It works if you're 7, but the fact that they're still trying to do that, it's ridiculous. The rules of the game that keep changing every couple of years. I don't know what to make sense of it. What's legal anymore? All I know is pitchers are no longer hitting. We got 9-inning doubleheaders this season, which I've always been a fan of. There should always be more doubleheaders in baseball. And I don't even know what is happening anymore with baseball. It's getting more ridiculous. You can't throw first to third anymore. That's illegal. We got sign stealing left and right that's being enforced, but not being enforced all at the same time. My thoughts, just no more DHs in the National League if they choose to. I think there should be an option for a National League team if they want to have a DH or not. They want to let their pitcher hit. That's how it should be. Go back to the 8-team playoff format. 4 division winners. That's it. That's the way it was before. That's the way it used to be. Whichever team finished in first place in the American League and National League, those were the teams playing in the World Series. We've come a long way since then. Now we got divisions. Now we got the ALCS and all that garbage to go along with it as well. And again, no more shifts in baseball. Stop making it easier for guys to get out. You want numbers to go up, you got to let guys play it out the right way. That's what I've got to say about it. Is baseball still dead? In my mind, it is still dead if you're not a diehard fan. If you're a casual fan, it's completely dead.
Wow. That's a lot to take in. You covered a lot with those virtues. And, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think you're right on all fronts here. I wonder if the MLB would listen to you, because this is not a bad idea. No DH, 8-team playoff format, no shifts. I'll jump on the bandwagon with you here, Voldy. I think this makes a lot of sense. The pitch clock, there's all that going on. The oversized bases. It's the MLB trying to get the casual fan back is kind of what they're trying to do, but they're not doing a great job of that. So it's like you said, for a casual fan, it's dead. But you gotta, it's Manfred. That's all I gotta say. It's just Manfred.
It's
man.
Manfred.
So especially Feel free, zoners, to chime in here too on your thoughts on this, or if you agree, disagree with us or Voldy in this specific topic. Let us know. So, great job, Voldy, with the virtues. The Temple of Wisdom was awesome. All right, let's move on to air race. So we got a lot to talk about here. One involving the Wild. They made a deal as well. If you thought the Vikings were the only one making deals or the Twins making deals, the Wild made a deal as well. That TomBrady guy, I think, is coming back or something. We'll get into that. MLBLockout's ending. NFL free agency, and then Deshaun Watson updates on that. So let's get it going. What's up? Observed or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we start off, of course, one thing we didn't talk about is the moves that the Minnesota Wild have been making as of late, as a trade announced yesterday with the trade deadline looming in the National Hockey League. The Minnesota Wild and the Colorado Avalanche decided to trade centers. Now the Wild will be sending to the Avalanche Nico Sturm for former University of North Dakota Fighting Sioux center Tyson Jost, who will be heading to the Wild as well. Nico Sturm, 26 years old, played 53 games for the Wild this season as well. Been a guy that's been second, third line for them, kind of guy who's been in and out of the lineup as well for a good while, but in a battle of Central Division foes as well with the Wild and the Avalanche trading players. Is it absurd or approved, this trade, and are more moves coming for the Minnesota Wild this season?
Well, first, it's got my stamp of approval. Not because he came out of the University of North Dakota, but
national champion.
Yeah, national champion as well. But the fact that the Wild got, it was pretty much a center for a center in this aspect. But I think Guerin said it best. He said, to get something valuable, you have to give up something valuable,
right? As
well. Speaking of which, the Wild are tied now with the Boston Bruins 2-2. But it's I like this because he's a little bit younger. He's got a +1 rating in 59 games. I mean, apparently he was a first-round draft pick for the Avalanche in 2016. But I also think that Sturm, he had his ups, he had his downs, and I think that this was something to where the Wild wanted to get a little bit. I mean, not saying Sturm was old or anything, but they wanted to get a guy that could get to the net a little bit more. And, he struggled. He had some injuries. But also, I think he was effective. But I think this is kind of a win-win for both teams. I also kind of look at it from the perspective of, are they going to be able to do something with him? Now, they still need more. First I'll say it's got my stamp of approval, for one. But also, I would also look at it from this aspect as well, that the Wild need to look at another, center. And I think that's kind of the main thing with this team. But we'll see. I don't know. But I think they're going to make some more deals here, Voldy. And hopefully it's for their benefit because, they've been kind of streaky a little bit lately. Yep. So fingers crossed that they can get it figured out. But, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. So, and I think they're going to make more deals. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this is the right move for the Wild, too, because Tyson Jost out in Colorado, he's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle out there with their team. I mean, he, +1 rating in 59 games, 6 goals, 8 assists. He's done a lot more for them, especially when he came out in 2016 and the years after that. He's been a contributor. I think now it's just at the point where he's just needs a fresh start. He's kind of hit a plateau there in, in Denver, too. So, coming to Minnesota, hopefully that'll be a good fresh start for him. 24 years old as well. Got a lot of tread left on those tires too. Nico Sturm was going to be an unrestricted free agent this summer too. So obviously the Wild weren't going to shell out the money for him anyway. So try to get something for him now as opposed to playing it out with him
Yeah.
and then getting nothing in return. So, I think both just a welcome fresh start for both teams too. And, hopefully it works out the best for both of them, because it's not like both of them were terrible players. I mean, Nico Sturm pretty good on the face-off too. 51% on the career in face-offs as well. But, something to work on too with Tyson Jost, 39.5% in his career on the face-off. So not exactly something to write home about. So maybe on that fourth line with Tyson Jost, maybe be more of an offensive threat as well to help out that fourth line for the Wild too.
Yeah, and I think, it's one of those things where it's getting close to the deadline and whatnot, and adding some more guys would help, because I believe the Wild have pretty much struggled against the Predators as of late, and some other good teams. So they got to get back on track. They're tied right now with Boston, but gotta get some wins here, and I'll trust Billy Guerin in this aspect. So hopefully it'll turn out in our favor. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, this one was a shock and a surprise to, basically anybody that has a pulse in the wide world of sports or just in life itself. It was announced this past week that Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. ended his 40-plus day lockout, if you will, that being with the retirement that he is unretired. Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. returning to the NFL and returning to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he's had 2 months. Think about his life after football. Decided, nope, that ain't it as of yet. So he is returning to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go on to season number 23, and this time being his third in Tampa Bay as well. Well, looking at it as a whole as well, they do bring back their center and Ryan Jensen too with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is it absurd or approved? Tampa Bay will be returning to the Super Bowl with Brady back on the field.
Well, that's a great question, because I definitely think that it's definitely possible. I mean, anything with Brady is possible. Them getting to the Super Bowl, I think is very. I think it's up there. Now, they re-signed some guys. Godwin's back. It sounds like Gronk's coming back. Surprise, surprise, right? And Brashad Perryman, I believe, is back as well. But you still have playoff Lenny still out there as well. So they got to, look to re-signing him too if they want to bring the band back. Now, my question is, what are they going to do differently this year? Because they were down big against the Rams. Obviously, they came back and, they did their thing. But they re-signed Carlton Davis. Now, are they going to be able to bolster their secondary? Because their secondary didn't play well.
It's taking a hit.
Yeah, it's taking
some
a hit.
hits. Yep.
And Antoine Winfield Jr. obviously is probably one of their top guys back there. So that's a big question: is who are you going to get for corners? Because it's going to be tough for them to find some guys, because corners are going like hotcakes. I think that Williams guy from the Rams, he's off the table.
Yep.
And a whole slew of other guys. It's all escaping me right now, but definitely there's more things happening. But I like that he was able to understand, being at home, I kind of want to come back. Which is fine. I'm glad he did it now than, later. He didn't pull a Favre in the aspect of, hey, sorry, or I'm going to show up at training camp, yada, yada, yada.
Right, exactly. I don't know if I'm going to play or not.
Yeah, so then he decides, I'm coming back, and everyone's like, screw it. So do I think they'll win the Super Bowl? I think they can get to the Super Bowl, but to say that it's absurd or approved, it's got my stamp of approval. Who you're going to get as a quarterback next year, this upcoming season, because there was not much unless you were going to trade for somebody, which I don't think they were going to at that point, but who knows. But Tom Brady, stamp of approval, coming back. I still think he's got a lot left in the tank, so we'll see. Voldy, what do you got?
Tom Brady coming back to the NFL was a shock to many people, a shock to myself as well.
Yeah.
I'd mentally, physically, and emotionally moved on with my life trying to think, what's next? What do I do? Who do I cheer for? What is life? What are we doing? Are we one with the universe? But overall, looking at the situation, pieces are still there. Now going to season number 3, offensive line pretty much untouched if they can get fully healthy. Will the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go back to the Super Bowl? Yes. Will they win the Super Bowl? Yes. I'm putting it out there right now, and we can play this back if the season ends up 8-8, if they end up 8-9, I should say now, if they end up 1-16, if by some shred of a god of a miracle they do not win the Super Bowl this year, we can play this back during the Super Bowl special. If we think about it for Super Bowl, it would be Super Bowl 54, 56, I don't know. Whatever Super Bowl we're moving, 57 maybe. Yeah, I think that sounds right. Super Bowl 57. Going into next year. We can play it back. I want to be proven wrong here in this one, but the fact that a couple pieces here and there are being moved around, they just restructured Cameron Brate's deal to keep him around as well. He's going to be another piece. O.J. Howard is out. He's going to Buffalo for another contract and opportunity. He was a guy that was third, fourth on the depth chart for the Buccaneers. How do you not pick the Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl or at least be out of the NFC? Yes, we know that Aaron Rodgers is coming back, and there's still a few question marks in that camp as well. But, is it good for the NFL? I think it's still good. Tom Brady's still got a lot to prove. No, he doesn't have a lot to prove. But as long as he can be on the field and still say that he still got it and, continue to produce at a high level, why not give it one more shot as well? Season 23, it's definitely going to be one to watch and to see as well. So it's got my big old stamp of approval.
Season 23, LFG. I think that'd
go.
probably be the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
The Super Bowl's in Arizona, by the way, so he has some experience playing a Super Bowl in Arizona.
Some
especially.
good, some not so good.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay, so that's right. I forgot about the other one, too. But, Super Bowl 57, you were correct on that.
57, yeah,
so,
there we go.
TFB's back. We'll see what happens. But, it wouldn't surprise me if they did. So, Voldy, next one, Voldy.
Speaking of the span of Tom Brady's retirement was shorter than the MLB lockout. Let's talk about that to begin with as well. Major League Baseball and the lockout, it is officially over. We've been talking about it with the start of the show and the last couple of segments as well. They did ratify a new collective bargaining agreement. That's the word I was trying to throw out there. And that means that Major League Baseball for spring training games are tomorrow. Twins take on the Red Sox, 12 o'clock, 12:05 first pitch coming your way from Fort Myers. Major League Baseball opening day moved up to April 7th. Full 162 games. So they'll lose a month of the season, but they're still going to play a full 162. Spring training games start tomorrow. Free agency, began immediately. Let's just say the free agency market has just been going like crazy, to say the least.
Yeah.
Some other things as well. It's also see that the CBT is expected to begin at $230 million and grow up to $244 million. There's a lot of things going into it as well with the start of the year. Now, looking at the picture overall, everything that's happened leading up to this and all the labor talks and the collective, with the CBA being ratified, is all forgiven for the players and owners, now that we have a full season of baseball to work with.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's more the owners, I feel like, in this aspect. But I also understand, you want to find a middle ground. But the fact that it took so long for them to figure it out, tells me that they were never on the same page when it came to this. And it's frustrating because, you had to delay all these games and whatnot. But if they kept delaying it, then you're losing more money. So there's that factor in as well. But I wouldn't say all is forgiven. I would just say, I'm kind of looking at them with a side eye, like, what's the next thing you're gonna F up or something like that, you know? So I kind of look at it like that. It seems like the CBT, like you said, goes up from 230 million to grow to 244 million. So there's that. National League adopts the designated hitter starting the season. Oh boy, that'll be interesting. I know you even talked about it and whatnot, but you know, apparently they don't want to listen in that aspect. So yeah, I'll go with this. I'll go with absurd, just because I don't fully forgive those guys for, you know, all that, you know, all those issues, and that side blaming that side. They couldn't get to it. They had to get a mediator, for goodness sake, to figure out how this was going to go down. So, yeah, I'll say absurd on this, just because, you know, just the disagreements, and it took long, and I'm glad it started, but giving them that side eye, just a little bit. So, Voldy, what do you think?
The one thing I find troubling out of all this, I don't actually know how long the CBA is going to last.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing out of all these negotiations. Like, is this a 1-year deal? Is this a 25-year deal? Is this something we're going to have to deal with next season too? Because it feels like the last 2-3 seasons, especially, there's been these lockouts and labor shortages and shutdowns and everything. It's like, well, hold on. How long is the CBA, the previous one, been up for? Because I'm gonna have to Google it here, you know, between segments.
Yeah.
How long is the CBA actually supposed to last? Is it a 5-year thing? Is it a 1-year thing that we'll look at next season, or is it one of those things like, all right, let's get through this season and, you know, we'll talk about it in December? Or it's like, you know, you bring it up, be like, hey, you want to keep doing this the right way? Yeah, sure, let's go ahead and do it for another year too. Is it forgiven? In my mind, like, between the players and owners, obviously it's forgiven for the time being, because there's baseball going to be happening. We'll have people in the stands for a full start of the season too. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
Spring training baseball all gets started tomorrow as well, which is awesome on St. Patrick's Day. Even with the regular season being pushed back a month, an already jam-packed schedule, 162 games in, 5.5 months or whatever, is crazy, but yet they still somehow make it all work. Is it approved? Is it absurd? I think it's absurd, just because of the fact you couldn't get it done from December when it was locked down all the way up until Friday, Saturday, when a new deal was ratified. Yep. Like, you guys couldn't see the big picture and all this, and he kept just basically at one giant pissing contest to see who was going to fill the pot first, is just completely absurd. Like, at the end of the day, people just need to grow up. It's completely absurd.
Paul ads had something to do with it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? But, well, we're just glad it's back. We'll just leave it like that. All right, next one, Voldy.
All right, well, we're talking about Major League Baseball and their free agent frenzy, trades happening left and right. Let's talk about NFL free agency.
Yeah.
Now, the legal tampering period did start here. Was it yesterday that got started? Or something like
Monday,
that?
yeah.
Monday.
Monday.
Got started on Monday. Let's just talk about everybody's getting traded. Everyone's getting signed. Everyone's getting cut. Everyone's getting fired before they even got hired to begin with. Up is down, left is right. Teams are moving, teams are staying. It's completely insane how NFL free agency has just really started. Me personally, I don't remember there being this much activity in 3 days of the first beginnings of free agency ever to begin with. And the fact that it is still going crazy to this day, with guys are just signing left and right. And obviously we've seen much movement from the, like the Vikings going after guys as well. Teams are building, teams are losing as well, and it's just going left and right. My question to you is, who's winning free agency? Who's losing so far? What do you think? Oh, let's first start off. What's the biggest surprise out of free agency that you've seen so far?
That's a good one, because I've had this one especially on my mind. Now, not saying like it's a big signing or anything or whatnot, but I'll say this one. Mitchell Trubisky to the Steelers?
Mm-hmm.
What? Like, I don't understand why Pittsburgh thought, and I have great amount of respect for Mike Tomlin. I just hope they know what they're doing, because I have said this ever since Mitchell Trubisky has been in the league. He is a bust. He has always been a bust. Now, you can come back and say, well, Matty, see, you talk about like he's the worst thing ever. He is Christian Ponder-esque. He had one good season with the Bears. It's like, well, Matt Nagy wasn't great, Matty. See, what are you talking about? Doesn't matter. The guy could not get it done. And that's probably why Matt Nagy was fired, is because he wasn't able to get the best out of him. Now, if you look at Pittsburgh, Big Ben's out. I mean, he's just old. He's just super old. He's gone. You have either Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Trashkins, okay? And now you decide to
Forgot about him.
Yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God.
exactly.
Yikes.
Now, maybe you can get something out of it. But I don't think you look at Trubisky and say that he is a franchise quarterback. Now, maybe they make another deal. Maybe they release Trashkins and maybe they release Rudolph. I don't know. Mason Rudolph as your starting quarterback, that says a lot. Like, I wouldn't want him. So there's that. But that's the one that is the most questionable. Not saying that it is completely and utterly just super, like, just out of left. I mean, it's out of left field. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's really weird. But the biggest one that, the one I like the most so far is the Von Miller one. And this was just today, like hours before we started the show, Voldy and Zoners. With him being going to Buffalo, I think is a huge get for the Bills because, you know, they have pass rushers, but I think they needed that elite one, and they got it with Von Miller. So I think right now Buffalo's really doing a great job getting guys. You know, Jacksonville, I got to give some props to Jacksonville, too. They've added some veteran guys that I think can make an impact. But at the same time, I mean, will they be able to, come through? Because Trevor Lawrence just didn't have any help last year. It was just a mess. So there's that thrown into here, but there's a lot of there's some other cool ones too. I think I like the Jordan Hicks one just because I'm not trying to be biased, but it's true. I do like it.
Right.
And Chandler Jones to the Las Vegas Raiders is interesting too. So
very interesting.
That one is up there as well. So
with Josh McDaniels too. Excuse me.
You're good.
Yep.
Go. Oh, yep.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels, head coach there now. So obviously a little bit of familiarity there with Chandler Jones, former Patriot.
Yeah, so there's that factored in with Chandler Jones. Now Vikings says, well, why didn't we go out? And he goes, well, did you see the price tag on what they have? I mean, we have to free up cap space if you wanted that type of free agent. So the biggest surprise probably the Trubisky one. But I would say right now, Oakland might be winning. Jacksonville, who's definitely losing, I think Green Bay. And I'm not saying that just to say I think right now with Adams doesn't want to play on the franchise tag. He doesn't want to do that. And you guys are not close on a deal with him. You lose Zadarius Smith. I think that was key because I like Zadarius Smith over Preston Smith any day of the week, to be honest with you. But you get Devondre Campbell back, that helps, but there hasn't been much after that. And I think if I'm Green Bay, I'm wondering, well, Rodgers is back, but what about your top target? That's my question. So, what do you think, Voldy?
Well, biggest surprise, I think, is a guy we haven't even talked about yet, and maybe not so much signed, but getting traded. Carson Wentz to the Commanders. Let's talk about that. Sure. That was a huge move that just literally came up out of nowhere with the start of free agency and everything. Because we all know the situation with, Carson Wentz. And now apparently the Carson Wentz experience in Indianapolis wasn't for everybody, even though him and Frank Wright were, all buddy in Philly in his time. But apparently wasn't good enough. So now he's going to Washington with Coach Ron Rivera there and learning another system, third system in 3 years that he's going to be working off of. That's going to be very interesting to see just because, Washington is looking for a fresh start in a lot of different ways, obviously with the whole branding. And now that they've got a guy who can be a franchise quarterback for them, but has been as of late, not exactly the most consistent player in the world.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see how things are going. We're talking about a team that's winning free agency. Let's talk about, obviously, we're talking about Buffalo. Buffalo's making all the right moves. I think with this free agency and offseason, they're looking to win, and they're looking to win now.
Yep.
I mean, because they're getting guys that they've had guys that kind of stepped up and made some plays for them. Now they're getting guys to solidify that on both sides of the ball. Getting Von Miller on the defensive side, bringing in a guy like O.J. Howard. Again, not exactly great numbers, but when he was the number one guy at the tight end spot, he had some pretty bright glimpses, and he's still fairly young in his career, and now get a true quarterback to get him on top, because at first he had, Jameis Winston in the 30-30 era for him, and then, a couple passes here and there from TomBrady, too, certainly help his, confidence in that. Buffalo's certainly winning. I'm also seeing Tampa Bay winning as well, besides the whole TomBrady thing, too. They trade away a couple of picks to bring in Shaq Mason on the offensive line to help shore up a couple of spots. They bring in another wide receiver in Russell Gage, because they don't know 100% sure how the injury situation is going to be with Chris Godwin. They've got him on the franchise tag. Mike Evans still in the middle of his, contract as well. They also brought in, again, Bashad Perriman, who did catch one of them big touchdowns for TomBrady down the stretch of his career, too, before the initial retirement. And, there's a lot of good moves being made right then and there. Fortunately, looking at a team that's losing, I mean, it's hard to pick anybody but Green Bay right now. And I hate to say that as well, to piggyback off of you, just because we already know all the people living in that house aren't exactly all cohesive and happy to begin with, because, you got your guy. You got Aaron Rodgers back. Now you got to keep him happy is to begin with, too. So I found it funny, too, because the plan was to put Devontae Adams on the franchise tag, and they knew that he wasn't going to be happy with it. So why do that to begin with, putting him on the franchise tag? Get him his bag, let him be happy, and go out there and try to win another Super Bowl. That is what you would think would happen. But they kept saying as well, we're going to put him on the franchise tag. We know he's not going to be happy, but we're going to see if we can try and get him on a bigger deal with free agency to see what's out there for him too. And I just found that very interesting that they're actively like, no, go ahead, go out there, see what happens. We'll talk to you in a little while, if at all, to begin with. I'm just finding that very interesting. That's what I think is winning and losing, and my biggest surprise with NFL free agency.
Yeah, one other one I wanted to bring up here. How about the Randy Gregory thing going on there? Originally going to go back to Dallas, and then, pull an Anthony Barr. I'm going to go to Denver instead. Mm-hmm. That was crazy. But I think, like I said, I think Denver's another team too, man. I mean, Russell, they have, weapons there. They lose Noah Fant, which I'm still kind of surprised about, but I think that was kind of part of the deal and whatnot. But that's another team to factor in. But the Giants, I don't think the Giants have done anything. So there's just not much. Besides Tyrod Taylor and Ricky Seals-Jones, apparently. But, they haven't done much. They got to do something, though.
Yep.
All right, last one, Voldy.
Yeah, we go also to an interesting NFL offseason that is going to be for Deshaun Watson. Now, we did learn as well at the end of this past week with free agency looming that, with it being the situation that is that Deshaun Watson is cleared of all charges, whether it be criminally or civil in the civil ranks as well for that court of law against him. And that's bringing up a lot of interesting notes as well. He's been in contact apparently with the New Orleans Saints. A lot of teams looking at it. Carolina. There's teams out there that are looking for a starting quarterback, and a lot of quarterbacks out there that are looking for new opportunities too. Is it absurd or approved? Deshaun Watson will be a starting quarterback in the NFL for the 2022 season.
Yeah, he will. I say that because he's cleared of the charges, and that's what everybody was waiting on. Now, what's interesting to me, and I think you've probably noticed this too, Voldy, and probably some of the zoners here too, a lot of those teams are in the NFC South. Apparently, the Panthers want him. He visited the Panthers. He visited the Falcons. He visited the Aints. Good Lord. I mean, they're really fighting for him right here. But He's cleared of the criminal charges and whatnot, which I will say this too. That doesn't mean that he didn't do anything.
Right.
I still think that something happened, but I don't think it was enough to press criminal charges against him. That's just my humble opinion, but, we'll see. They're still doing a league investigation, so that's factored into. I don't know if they're going to suspend him, if they're not, but we'll see. The Texans are going to try to make the trade. I mean, they're going to ask for a lot. I mean, I believe Miami's out of the running because they've already, kind of put it towards that. They already have Tua, and then also our guy, Teddy B. He's going to back up Tua. Happy for Teddy B. So, with Watson, he's going to start. I think he's going to find a team. Whether it's in the NFC South or not remains to be seen. But there's there's still a lot of interest. You can take the Vikings out for God's sake, thank God. But it's going to be interesting. I don't know who he's going to sign with, but he's going to be a starter somewhere. If I were to guess, I'm kind of going out on a limb here. I'd probably say Carolina. I'll go with Carolina just because they have cap space. They can add more guys. They already have DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey. Now, I know that they were kind of actively shopping him, but who knows?
Right.
I don't know. But I think that makes the most sense. But there's still, you have to still deal with the Sam Darnold situation. I mean, you just traded for him too. So I kind of look at Carolina. I don't want him to go to the Aints. Well, it's because it's the Aints. But still, I mean, that makes sense too. I'll be honest. It does make sense. So, so I guess stamp of approval, he's going to start. He's going to play. So that's just my opinion. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I find it very interesting, because Deshaun Watson, I hate to say it with the past year that from the legal standpoint of what he's been through and everything that's gone on and off the field as well, not hearing a whole lot out of his camp to begin with, going through the legal process. Probably this year has probably been the best for him from a standpoint of his health, because we already knew the last couple seasons with Houston, he was getting ragdolled left and right, and he was still making plays. He was making plays for the Houston Texans when he literally had nobody around him. And when he did have somebody, they were being productive out of a horrible division, that being the AFC South, I should say. And you know what? They had some pretty decent seasons, even with Bill O'Brien literally destroying the team from the inside to begin with. But him not playing an entire season, basically any whatsoever, is completely beneficial to him. So basically he gets a year off and he's going to be fully healthy. That's going to be even more incentivizing for a team to bring him into a new team, new system as well, to be completely 100% productive. Another team that may be looking for a quarterback as well, throw this out there, Seattle, the Seahawks. Okay. Because they already lost, they traded away Russell Wilson. They do have Geno Smith. They did bring in Drew Lock as well out of that trade with Russell Wilson. But, I mean, none of those guys are exactly 100% franchise QBs. Bring in Deshaun Watson, see what he can do in the Pacific Northwest. Another quarterback-loaded division, too, and that's going to be an extremely tough one to compete in, too. But, you throw him into the mix as well. Certainly could make a little bit of noise there up in the Pacific Northwest if that's the route that he chooses to go to. Well, I don't see why you wouldn't go to a team like Carolina. He went to Clemson. It's ACC, SEC territory. He's playing some big games in that part of the country. It'd be a nice little homecoming for Deshaun Watson.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up because I believe there was a report about Watson to Seattle, but apparently he's turned that down, I believe.
Dang it.
So that being thrown into perspective. I don't mean to burst your bubble, but
Deshaun.
Apparently he's like no-go with the Pacific Northwest. I don't know why, but I saw something. It could be off. I don't know, but just to throw that in there. But yeah, he's gonna play. He's gonna start. He'll be fine unless some things happen and there's evidence of him doing this stuff. But we'll see. I don't know. All right, great job with Air Raid this week, Voldy. A lot of cool awesome, articles that talk about with NFL, MLB, all that stuff. So, but we got some Shield shoutouts. We got some awesome Shield shoutouts this week, especially in the NBA. You're wearing one. I'm wearing the cat as well. So, speaking of cat, we'll get to that in a second. And also birthday. So just FYI to that too. So let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield Shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
Well, I got to start off here. Shield shoutouts. I caught a little bit of flack before before tonight's show, after last week's show as well. Not only was it Case Paul James's birthday this past Wednesday, but this past Friday was also my wonderful wife, Mrs. Sarah Antus Vold, creative consultant for Minnesota Sports Live. So happy belated birthday to my wife. We did have a nice little birthday celebration. Luckily enough, we were able to have a babysitter, so we were able to go out and have dinner and get something to eat. Luckily enough, with my work and everything as well, somebody actually paid for our drinks, so we were able to get some free drinks out of the mix as well. So that was nice as well. So happy belated birthday to my wife for just being an awesome wife, awesome mother, head of the household, whatever you want to throw out there as well. She does the best, and she's great at everything as well. And also helped create Tater Tot Hot Take, the name of the segment as well.
Yep.
So without that, we wouldn't be very far into the show. Also, Shield shout out goes out to the Minnesota Wild for finally retiring former captain Mikko Koivu's number 9 this past Sunday, being the first official retired number in franchise history. They did retire the number 1 when they came into the league for the Wild fans. So that gets that off the list as well. First official retired number for the Minnesota Wild with Mikko Koivu. And speaking of retired numbers, this past week, the Boston Celtics raised to the Raptors to number 5 for the big ticket himself, Kevin Garnett. Obviously, 2008 NBA champion with the Celtics as well, part of the Big 3 as well.
Yep.
Now, if only the Timberwolves would follow suit and retire old number 21, raise that to the Target Center. That'd be pretty nice too, don't you think?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Speaking of the Timberwolves as well, Karl Anthony Towns was making it hurt in a big way this week. 60 in the victory, the franchise record, as Karl Anthony Towns dropped 60 points, 17 rebounds, setting a franchise record and also a franchise record for the Timberwolves. I mean, they keep winning, but they keep putting up points. 149 to 139 was the final result. That's the franchise record for most points scored for the Timberwolves at 149. That's what I've been saying these last few years. Look, Timberwolves can win games, but they're going to have to win, 140, 100 to 30 or something like that. So obviously that's the way the NBA is going nowadays. And unfortunately, a bit of a somber note that we have to finish off of. Professional wrestler Scott Hall passed away earlier this week. The bad guy himself, old Razor Ramon, passed away due to complications from surgery. His family taking him off life support. As we close out Minnesota Sports Live, there is one thing that Razor Ramon Scott Hall once said: good times. I completely screwed it up. Hard work pays off. Good times last forever. Bad times don't. You know what? Screw it. I completely fucked up that line to begin with. Let's just move on. Look it up on YouTube. It was in his Hall of Fame, in his, you know what I mean? His Hall of Fame speech.
We got you.
I didn't even write it down. I should have read it. I should have watched it like 3 or 4 more times before the show. That's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Hey, no worries.
Oh, my God.
We'll look it up before. But a couple of updates. I wanted to make sure I got this. End of the second, Wild tied 2-2 with Boston. And our Minnesota Timberwolves are kicking the crap out of the LA Lakers. And granted, the Lakers are just a mess right now in general. But the Wolves are taking it to them, as they should be. So I'm very happy that they're doing that. With your Shield shout-outs, Razor Ramon. I mean, if you watch WWE, if you watch WCW, all that stuff, I mean, he was a bad guy, and again, he was great. He was phenomenal, and it's sad. But Cat has been playing out of his mind. That's why I wore the jersey tonight. It just makes sense. I mean, the guy has been phenomenal, and I hope that it continues. It seems like it is continuing tonight. I just keep seeing all these, reports and whatnot, and we're just absolutely kicking the Lakers' ass right now. So that's I like seeing that. So great job with Shield Shoutouts. Hopefully KG, all that stuff gets all sorted out. And again, happy belated birthday to Miss Sarah Ann Vold, our creative consultant, as well as naming our Tater Tot hot take as well. So much appreciation for that. Anywho, that'll wrap up the show. Voldy, we went without no internet connection fallout. I am very happy about that. We got it done. Episode 101. We've gone through some trials, tribulations, but thank God. I hope that Skype was listening. I really hope that Skype was
really
listening
hope
to us.
so.
So we appreciate that. That getting taken care of. So without further ado, remember, if you want to support us, you want to do stuff like that, we got shirts. We got shirts, baby. $20, $5 shipping. 5 out of 5 stars. Haven't heard a bad review on them. As well as hats. We got MinneZona hats, as Voldy has right there. $20, $5 shipping. Voldy, how many do we have still?
Let me just do a quick check here. I was actually just looking at them. I think we got 3 hats left. Okay.
Left. Well, we got 3 hats left, so we still got that going as well. We have stickers too. We have stickers. Yeah, we got the snapback, or if you can curve the hat, go ahead. Got the stickers, $3 for the big ones, $2 for the smaller ones. You know the deal with that. We'll make sure we can get them to you. So thank you to National Fleet Graphic, as well as Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers as well. Also, special shout out to W2 Performance, Will Rattel. He's been keeping up to date. I believe he was in Utah, I believe, with some people. So he was having a good time. Check out W2 Performance, Will Rattel, www.w2performance.com. So make sure you check that out. And then also check out Jack's Junkyard, Jack O'Keefe. He's doing some socials, medias, things. And also check out Breaking Into the League with Sam Gabrielli, Ryan Martin, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the victorious P.O.D. with Ryan Walters and Jack Vickers. They're doing a great job as well. We're still working with them to get them on the show, us on their show. So stay tuned. We'll get it going there. So that's going to do it for episode 101, Voldy and Zoners. We appreciate you tuning in, and we're off next week, unfortunately. We got work stuff going on, but we'll be back. That's the main thing. We will be back. We'll have more fun. We'll have more updates, and make sure you check out the socials medias, as we always say at the end of the show. But without further ado, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.